Hey everyone, and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. Today we're talking about something that frustrates a lot of English learners, understanding English quite well, but struggling to speak it. If that sounds like you, you're definitely not alone.
It's actually really common. You can watch films, listen to podcasts, read messages, even follow a conversation, but when it's your turn to speak, your mind suddenly goes blank, or your mouth just refuses to cooperate.
And that gap between what you understand and what you can say can feel really discouraging. But the thing is, it's not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that your passive skills are ahead of your active ones, which is totally normal.
Think about it like this: your brain is like a sponge, soaking up input, words, phrases, pronunciation. But producing language is a different skill. It takes confidence, muscle memory, and a bit of courage to actually speak.
It's a bit like watching loads of cooking videos but then getting nervous in the kitchen. You know what to do in theory, but doing it in real time, especially under pressure, feels like a different world.
And a lot of the time, people are afraid of making mistakes or sounding silly, so they just don't speak. But the longer you avoid it, the bigger that gap between understanding and speaking becomes. Not because you're bad at English, but because you're not giving yourself the chance to practice out loud.
Exactly. Understanding English shows you already have the language inside you. Speaking is about unlocking it. Gently. Repeatedly. And without expecting it to be perfect right away.
And I think a big part of the struggle is internal, isn't it? We put so much pressure on ourselves to sound fluent, to speak quickly, to use perfect grammar. But that pressure can freeze you. It makes you second-guess every sentence before it even leaves your mouth.
Absolutely. And the irony is, the more you overthink it, the harder it gets. You're not just translating thoughts, you're battling nerves, self-criticism, fear of judgment. It's no wonder speaking feels harder than listening.
But here's something we forget. Kids don't wait until they can speak perfectly. They try. They say strange things. They mix up words. But they speak, and that's how they learn. That's how they build fluency, by doing it badly at first, and learning through the mess.
And honestly, speaking isn't just about language. It's about confidence. It's about trusting that what you have to say is worth hearing, even if it's not perfect. Even if you pause or stumble or say something a bit awkward.
And the more you speak, even in small ways, the more your brain gets used to retrieving words, building sentences, and expressing ideas out loud. It's like strengthening a muscle. Understanding gives you the knowledge. Speaking gives you the rhythm.
So if you understand English but struggle to speak, that's not a problem. That's a starting point. You already have the ingredients, you just need to start cooking. Slowly. Casually. Without perfection as the goal. Just progress.
And you don't need a classroom or a formal setting to start practicing. Honestly, some of the best speaking practice happens in everyday moments. Talking to yourself, describing what you're doing as you go through your day, reading out loud, or even shadowing your favorite TV shows or YouTube videos.
Yeah, and don't underestimate the power of repetition. Saying the same sentence a few times, playing with the rhythm, changing the intonation, it all helps. You're not just practicing words, you're training your mouth and your memory to work together.
And don't worry if your grammar isn't spot on right away. Fluency isn't about perfection, it's about flow. If you can get your point across, that's a huge win. The grammar will catch up with time, especially if you keep listening and exposing yourself to natural conversations.
Also, try not to compare your speaking skills to someone else's highlight reel. You might hear someone speak confidently on a podcast or Instagram and think, why can't I sound like that? But what you don't see is how many quiet hours they spent practicing, failing, repeating.
Right? What you're hearing is the result of consistency, not instant talent. And your journey will look different. It should. Because the way you speak English is going to be unique to you, your experiences, your interests, your voice.
And the key is to make speaking a regular part of your life, not a one-time event you prepare for. It's not a performance. It's a habit. It's built in everyday moments, in low-pressure situations, in small steps that build real confidence.
And honestly, some of the best progress happens when no one's watching. When you're in your room, speaking out loud to yourself. When you're walking to the shop, repeating phrases in your head. When you're brushing your teeth, and casually talking through your plans for the day in English.
Those moments might seem small, but they are actually powerful. They help rewire your brain to feel familiar with speaking. Not just understanding, but producing. It takes the pressure off and makes the act of speaking feel normal, not like a test.
And if you ever feel stuck, it's okay to start small. Really small. One sentence. One thought. Even one word. The goal isn't to impress someone. The goal is to show up for your progress. Every word you say out loud is a step forward.
And remember, fluency doesn't mean sounding like a native speaker. It means expressing yourself clearly and comfortably in your way. That might include your accent, your pauses, your own rhythm, and that's completely valid.
You're allowed to sound like someone who's still learning. You're allowed to need a moment to think. You're allowed to mess up, and laugh, and keep going. The courage to speak is what builds your fluency, not waiting until you're ready.
Exactly. So if you understand English but don't feel confident speaking it, try. Try in imperfect ways. Try consistently. Try softly. And keep trying. Because the words are already inside you. Speaking just helps set them free.
And I think the moment it starts to feel less intimidating is when you stop treating speaking like a final exam. It's not about passing or failing. It's about connection. It's about expressing what's in your mind and heart in a new language, even if it's not flawless.
Yes, and sometimes the conversations that matter most are the ones where you don't say everything perfectly, but you're still understood. That's the real magic of language. It's not about showing off, it's about being human.
And the more you allow yourself to sound like a learner, the faster you become a speaker. You have to stop waiting until you feel fluent enough. Fluency grows in action, not in silence.
And look, it doesn't have to be all serious either. Talk about your favorite film. Ramble about what you ate today. Describe the weather. Complain about your Wi-Fi. Whatever it is, just talk. The topic doesn't matter, the habit does.
It's like building a bridge from everything you understand to everything you're capable of saying. And that bridge doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to exist. Every word you speak adds another plank to that bridge. Bit by bit, it gets stronger.
So instead of asking, why can't I speak yet? Start asking, how can I give myself more space to practice, without judgment? You'll be surprised how quickly things shift when you drop the pressure and pick up consistency.
And one of the best things you can do is speak in low-stakes environments. Places where no one's grading you, no one's correcting every little detail. It could be a language partner, who's also learning, or even just yourself in front of the mirror. The goal is to get used to hearing your own voice in English.
Yeah, and that part is often overlooked. Getting used to the sound of your own voice in another language takes time. At first it might feel strange, even uncomfortable, but eventually, it becomes familiar. And from there, confidence grows.
Also, celebrate your tiny wins. Seriously. If you ordered coffee in English today, brilliant. If you asked for directions, or joined a conversation even for just a minute, amazing. Those moments matter. They are not small. They are signs you're using what you've learned.
And when it feels like nothing's improving, remember, progress is often invisible. You don't always feel yourself getting better, but every word you speak, every time you try again, it counts. It adds up.
There's no perfect time to start speaking. You just begin where you are. Not because you feel ready, but because you've decided to stop waiting. Even a whisper is a step forward. Even a stumble is movement.
And over time, the gap between understanding and speaking closes. Not because you've memorized more, but because you've allowed yourself to use what you already know. You're building trust between your brain and your voice. That's what changes everything.
So if you're someone who understands English but struggles to speak, let this be your gentle reminder: it doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're in progress. And progress isn't always loud or instant. Sometimes it's quiet, consistent, and deeply personal.
You've already come so far just by understanding. Speaking will catch up, especially if you start small, stay kind to yourself, and keep going. It's not about sounding perfect. It's about being brave enough to try.
Thanks for joining us today on the British Accent Podcast. We hope this chat reminded you that your voice is valid, your efforts matter, and it's okay to sound like a learner. That just means you're learning.
We'll be back soon with more thoughtful episodes for your English journey. Until then, keep speaking, keep growing, and take it one sentence at a time. Cheers, everyone.